To start problem 1, you need to read this page. Push pause, read the page, and when you're ready to move on, go ahead and press play. As we move along in the book together, make sure that you are following along as I go over the problems, writing them in your own book, and write down any necessary notes. Problem 1 says, how much laminate flooring would be needed for a room with 120 square feet? Obviously, we're going to need 120 feet for just the room itself, but then we also need to account in for the waste. In order to find 1/10 of the 120, we need to multiply them together. Do that calculation on your calculator, and you should find out that 120 times 1/10 gives you 12. We need to add these two together to figure out the total number of square feet for a 120 square foot room. The answer should be 132 square feet. We're going to do the same thing for part B. How much laminate flooring would be needed for a room of 200 square feet? Well, again, we're going to need that 200 square feet just to cover the room, and then we need to count in for the waste. So we're going to again multiply 200 by 1/10. Do that on your calculator. You should come up with 20 square feet of flooring. We're going to add those together, and our answer is going to be 220 feet squared. I want you to go ahead and pause the video, try parts C and D on your own, and then when you're ready to continue, you can press play. For part C, you should have gotten an answer of 264 feet squared. We just used the same process as in A and B. We took the 240 square feet, and then we also needed to count in for the waste by multiplying 240 by 1/10. We got 24 feet squared. Add the two together, and you should have gotten, again, 264 feet squared. Remember that to determine a percent of a number, you can multiply just as you do to calculate a fraction of a number. To determine 25% of 140, you can write the percent as a fraction or decimal and then multiply. If you're going to write a percent as a decimal, remember to move your decimal place left twice. So in this case, they took 25.0 and they moved the decimal place 2 times to the left to get 0.25. You can always think of meaning multiply. So they took 0.25, multiplied it by 140 to get an answer of 35. If you're going to change it to a fraction, remember that percents are always out of 100. They put 25 over 100, and then again, of means multiply. So they multiplied by 140, and again, they came up with an answer of 35. Moving on to number 2. How much hardwood flooring would be needed for a room that is 100 square feet? Well, we're going to use the same process that we did in number 1, except this time we're looking at hardwood floors with a waste of 20%. So again, we're going to need the 100 square feet, and then we're going to need to find out what 20% waste is of the 100. So 20% of, again, means multiply, and we're going to change the percent to either a decimal or a fraction. So I'm going to start by showing you changing it to a decimal. Move the decimal place to the left twice. We have 0.2. When you take 100 times 0.2, you get 20. And then again, we need to add these answers together. 100 plus 20 equals 120 feet squared. If you choose to change to a fraction, you're going to multiply by 20 over 100 because percents are always out of 100. When you do that, you figure out that the answer is 20 again. And we need to add that to our original of 100 square feet. And again, our answer is going to be 120 feet squared. So when you do B and C on your own, you can either change the percentage to a decimal or to a fraction. So complete B, C, and D on your own, and when you're done, go ahead and press play. For B, you should have gotten an answer of 216 feet squared, and for part C, you should have gotten an answer of 108 feet squared. If you did not get those answers, recheck your work with the work I have shown and try and see if you can refigure it out with the correct answers. If you got the correct answers to number 2, B, and C, you can move on to number 3. Number 3 is using the same process that we used with numbers 1 and 2, except this time it's talking about the ceramic tile. You need to go through and answer questions 3A, B, C, and D, and then when you're done, press play to check your answers. Here are your answers for number 3. Check to make sure that you have the correct answers, and if you don't, make sure you go back to rework your problems and figure out what you did wrong. If you're ready to move on, read this paragraph to start problem number 2. When you're ready, press play. Number 1 says estimate a 20% tip for each of the bills shown. We're going to round $89.45 to $90. We're going to then divide it by 5 because 20% is 1/5. When you take 90 divided by 5, you should get an answer of an $18 tip. Try number 1, B, and C on your own, and when you're ready, press play to check your answers. Here are your answers to 1, B, and C. Check over your work to make sure you did the problem correctly, and then we'll move on to number 2. When you're ready, press play. Before we start number 2, press pause to read this paragraph, and when you're ready, press play. Number 2 wants you to find a 15% tip this time. 15% can be broken into 2 easier percents of 10 and half of 10, which is 5. So again, we're going to round this to the nearest whole number. $89.45 can be rounded to $90. We're going to find 10% of 90, which just moves the decimal place 1 spot over. So that's $9. And then we're going to add that to whatever 5% is. 5% is half of 10%. So half of 9 is $4.50. We're going to add those together because 10% plus 5% gives us 15%. And when you add those two numbers together, you should get a total of $13.50 as 15% of the bill. Try part B and C on your own and press play to check your answers. Here are your answers to 2A or B and C. When you have the correct answers and you know how you got there, we're going to move on to 3.2 in your book on page 154. So pause the video until you have your book open to page 154, and then when you're ready to move on, press play. Problem 1 asks you to match a percent problem on the left with a percent model on the right. So I want you to go through and read the percent problem and try and figure out which model it matches up with. So write your answer down here, either A, B, or C, and then move on to the next one. Read the percent problem and match it to a model on the right. And again, write your answer of A, B, or C. When you think you have your answers correct, press play. Here are the answers to number 1. The first percent problem says, a test had 20 questions. If Tracy got 75% correct, how many questions did Tracy get correct? The model matches with numbers or letter C. 20 total questions shown up at the top, and if she got 75% down here on the bottom correct, how many did she get correct? So C is the model for the first problem. The second percent problem says 28 students in a class took an algebra test. If 21 students passed, what percent did not pass? That matches up with model A. Shows the 28 total students that took the test, and then on the bottom it shows the 21 students that passed, and then we're looking for what percent did not pass, which would be shown right here in the model. The last percent problem says, in a school, 25% of the teachers are math teachers. If there are 5 math teachers, how many teachers are in the school? So here they show a model of what would be the total number of teachers in the school, and then they also show the 5 teachers that are math teachers right here in the first box. Go ahead and check out the models and the percent problems to make sure you understand how we got the answers C, A, B, and then when you're ready to move on, you can press play. Number 2 wants you to use the models to solve the percent problems. I'm going to do the first one for you, and then you're going to be in charge of the second and the third one on your own. First one says, a test had 20 questions. If Tracy got 75% correct, how many did she get correct? So we can take 75% of the 20 questions. Again, we need to change this percentage to either a decimal or a fraction. 75% of means to multiply the total of 20 questions. So in your calculator, take 0.75 times 20, and you should get an answer of 15 questions is what she got correct. You can also use the model and break the total 20 questions up into the 4 boxes. 20 divided by 4 is 5 questions go in each box. And if we want to know the amount that she got correct, which is in the 75%, we can add 5 3 times or multiply 5 times 3. And again, you should get 15 questions correct. Try B and C on your own, and when you're ready, press play. Here are your answers for the second and the third percent problems. 25% did not pass for number 2, and the answer for number 3 is there are 20 total teachers. We are going to stop here so you can close your books. You are all done with your homework for the night. Have a good one.